What is up and welcome back everyone. I am over in North Bend, Washington. It is absolutely beautiful here. In fact, I might be a little bit emotionally attached to it. I mean, I'm not going to be moving to North Bend, Washington, but what I will be doing is providing a lot of the nevers that I will do in real estate, or I guess I won't do in real estate. So these are the things that I would just never do no matter what the scenario is. After listening to so many stories and listening to the regrets of buyers and investors in real estate, this is what I've picked up on over the years, and I want to make sure that you guys know it too. So here we go, the things I would never do when investing in real estate. The number one thing that I would not do is get emotionally attached to the property. Now, this is more particular to people that are just trying to invest in real estate. The people that are looking for homes for their family to be in, especially when they're looking for good school districts. This doesn't necessarily apply to y'all, but it's for those that are just looking to invest. So here's the thing, you should not be emotionally charged when you are looking to invest in real estate, especially when you're already under contract and just tempers are flaring up over time. You just gotta really have a level head when you go through the whole process. And so what do I mean by that? Let's say we're working together, we analyze your budget, we analyze some deals, we finally go out window shopping, or at least looking for places that you would like to buy, and after 7 failed attempts of putting in offers and things like that, you finally get one accepted. However, with that one offer that got accepted, you realize that a lot of other people agree with you in that it's an awesome property, and you go into a bidding war, and the offers are stacking up, the price gets higher and higher, and now you're just like stressed out and you really want the property. So within that bidding war, you start to go higher and higher, and you go past the budget that we agreed upon, especially if that property is only making a certain amount and you're putting in an offer that's even higher past that budget before like any of these numbers start to make sense. You're exhausted, you just want to close, and even though that price point is within your budget, investment wise, it's just not going to work out. And that is when the emotions get involved. It's always better to just take a step back, make sure that you're making the right decision in your investments, and also make sure that you're putting in the offer that makes sense financially. What I want you to do is make sure that you're buying an investment property that suits all of your goals, especially financially, but also like for retirement as well. So when you really consider everything, especially from the big picture, you don't have to make those rash decisions. And usually with those rash decisions comes regrets, and I do not want that to happen to you. The number 2 thing that I would never do when I'm investing in real estate is forego due diligence. So what exactly is due diligence? Sometimes we hear it, in different asset classes, and it doesn't just pertain to real estate. Let's say with due diligence, a lot of people, before they start investing in stocks or in the stock market, they make sure that they're making a good investment. And what they do is they look at earnings price per share, or they look at the assets or how much cash they have in hand as far as the company goes before they actually start investing in it. And that is not different than what you should be doing with real estate. Another example of doing your due diligence is through inspection. You have to get the inspection done. And back in 2020 and 2021, when interest rates were at like 3%, like it was insane how much like we were going over market price and waiving so many things. But the only thing that I would not advise my clients to do is waive inspection. And during that time, back in 2021, a lot of people were waiving their inspections, and I was not one of them, and I lost a lot of deals because of it. But the thing is that a lot of my clients appreciated that, because if they were to go into the deal and waive inspections and not have a reason to back out based on that inspection, they would have lost a lot of money and would have had a lot of headaches with that property. Another reason why you should do your due diligence is zoning. And with a lot of properties out there, especially in Colorado and back in where like I first started investing in San Diego, zoning is super important, especially when it comes to, let's say, if you want to build an ADU or if you want to have a short-term rental. All of that matters with zoning. I know with California and Colorado, there's a lot of housing shortages and inventory shortages, and a lot of people are coming in and they're not finding the appropriate housing. So with the zoning, there's a certain amount of certain types of zoning that people can look at where they can build ADUs in the background. ADU, which is accessory dwelling unit. Also with due diligence, you can actually see what you could do with the property. For example, you could pad split. If you were to build that ADU and split that pad and sell off that ADU and keep that home, that original home that was on there, you could sell it for a lot of money for those people that just want to buy a home. Another reason why to do your due diligence is looking at previous work on the home. And you want to make sure that if it was a flip or if there was significant work done on the property, like there were permits pulled from the city. So if you see an addition to a home, or if you see like a newly finished basement, you want to make sure that permits are all done and they are actually filed within the city. And I know that filing permits or pulling permits from the city does take a lot longer, and it does take some extra money to do, but at the same time, it is so worth it for people. Like if you were to do it and do that work yourself, selling the property would be so much easier, because then you can show the permits of like, hey, this was done correctly, the city inspected it, they signed off on it, and you're good to go. And lastly, like I mentioned earlier, the city and county that you're zoned in is super important. So let's say, for example, the greater Metro Denver area does matter pretty significantly when it comes to short-term rental laws. And let's say with Aurora and Centennial, they're neighboring cities, or I guess towns, where Aurora does not allow you to have short-term rentals. The only time that you can have it is if it's your primary residence. Whereas on the opposite side, Centennial has some significantly looser short-term rental laws where you can actually have an investment property and operate it as a short-term rental. Of course, like with that short-term rental within Centennial, you have to get a business license, you have to file it with the city and make sure that everything's going according to plan, and also let the neighbors know that a short-term rental is operating within their neighborhood, but nonetheless, it can happen. So there is a lot of differences between the two cities, and you just got to know where you are within the zoning. And if you are liking these tips of what to never do in real estate investing, make sure you leave a like and subscribe for people to find this video, and also share it. Feel free to share it so that other people can see this stuff, especially if they're a brand new landlord or if they're just thinking about being a house hacker or real estate investing. I want to make sure that they are good to go. And of course, feel free to hit me up. All my contact information is down below in the description. Call me, text me if you want to reach me. I am here for you. And the third thing that I would never do when I'm investing in real estate is overlook the importance of location. And as you know, the three most important rules of real estate investing is location, location, location. And it factors in so many different things, like how much it will appreciate, how desirable it would be, how much rents you can get, the occupancy that you can get on the investment property. There's just so many factors that you just can't ignore the location of the property. Also, for example, it really does matter what your strategy is. For example, like if you were to look into investing in a property that has a great school district, chances are those areas, those neighborhoods would not allow short-term rentals, because a lot of the people just don't want random guests coming in day after day, week after week. They'd rather have a more stable, like where everyone knows your name situation in that neighborhood. But at the same time, like there's some investors out there that want that short-term rental, and there might be a lot of other short-term rentals in that same area. So you really got to factor in the location and see if the people that would want to have a short-term rental and stay in there, it's all considered and it's all part of that process. Last thing I want to mention about location is that you can always fix up a property and make it even better, but what you can't change is the actual location. So what you want to do is you want to find a C property, like a grade C property in a grade A neighborhood. So that way you can fix it up, improve the quality of it, and have it comparative with the rest of the neighborhood, and you will be working it out swimmingly. The fourth thing that I would never do in real estate investing is ignore tenant screening procedures. One of the sayings I always tell my clients is no tenant is better than a bad tenant. And the way you can never get a bad tenant, or I guess not never, just to significantly reduce the chances of you getting a bad tenant, is by having strict guidelines when you have that tenant screening. I have 4 main ways to actually screen for my tenants before they actually rent into my property. And 3 of them are hard. They have like certain metrics to it. And one of them is more of a soft way of verifying that they're going to be a good tenant. And the first way is to make sure that they have a decent credit score, at least a 650. That's what I like to look at. It shows that they're somewhat responsible. Of course, 700s and over 750 is even better. And the second thing is to make sure that they're not on FBI's most wanted list. So go through a thorough background check. Zillow Property Manager or Zillow Rental Manager is a really good way for people to apply, and they go through all that screening process, and it just takes care of a lot of the metrics that you're looking for. So I would highly recommend you go look through there. And the third metric is making sure that the tenants make enough income to afford the rent. And depending on where you're at, it really does matter, because California, it's really expensive and people might not make as much money. But what I like to see is making sure that the renter makes at least 2.5 times the rent. So for example, if the rent is $2,000 a month, I want to make sure that they're making at least $5,000 a month. And I know that might be astronomical for some people, but it is much easier if there's like a couple moving into the unit. It just makes things a little bit more affordable, and that's typically what I see for my renters coming into my properties. And those are the 3 hard metrics, but I mentioned that there is one soft metric that I usually look forward to and make sure that I check it off, and that hasn't led me astray yet, so here it is. When I have a renter touring the property that is available for rent that I have or I'm putting up for listing, I make sure to check their car. And what it looks like is, let's say if they have fast food bags or water bottles or Monster energy cans. I mean, not that I have an issue with people that drink Monster. I think I have the issue with like just excessive trash, right? I mean, if they're treating their own car like that, imagine what they're treating a place they rent like. So far I've used that metric pretty well, and it has not led me astray. And I think that's a pretty good metric to see if they're going to be a good renter further on. I think it's a good way to go about things, at least to just get an understanding of how people live. And there are some people out there that have a messy car but an immaculate house, and to that I say, why don't you just clean your car? Like, what's the issue here, right? So I still think that that is a really good metric for you to base it off of. And of course, gut check. Like if you feel like there's something wrong, or if there's something like there's like a miss, if you just don't get a good feeling about it, then I would start to hesitate like approving that person. But of course, make sure you follow fair housing laws. I mean, I'm making sure that that is there. Do not go against the law on that. That is super important. And that's about it. Those are the nevers that I would do in real estate investing. And there's probably a little bit more, but those are the best things that I could come up with that is very universal no matter where it is in the nation. So if you found this pretty valuable, let me know in the comments below, and make sure you leave a like and subscribe so that more people can find things like this or videos like this where they can find a lot of good value with real estate investing and also house hacking. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next week.